So, hello everybody, and welcome to day 4. Just had to check what day it was. Welcome to day 4 of this well-being Advent, and today um, I am more than grateful to have Tania back with me after the catastrophe that was yesterday. And we just had this most beautiful conversation. I was so excited to go look at it and see it, and it just, I don't know where it disappeared to, who knows, but it just wasn't there. And so thankfully Tanya's agreed to come back in and we'll have a repeat. It might be like yesterday, it might not be. We're just going to go with the flow and see what happens.
I'm
But
going for better than yesterday. So I don't really remember yesterday already. So like whatever we said, we'll just say it better.
yes,
That's
I
what
love
I think.
that. So, So got to know Tanya through a little piece of mine. Tanya is a coach. A little piece of mine. You can find her there on the a littlepieceofmine.co.uk website. And when I did my training with Nicola Bird, Tanya was the coach that I did my very first Monday night call. And for those of you that don't know what a Monday night call is, it is so there's a massive kind of global group of people, and on a Monday night we go live and there's like a Q&A session, and we kind of share from this understanding anything that we've seen and point people that are struggling in that direction. And so Tanya was the first coach, yeah, that supported me on that call. I have never felt, I mean, I'll be honest, these kind of like videos create a lot of nervousness, but I've never been so nervous as I was that Monday night. And Tanya, thank you, because you were just so kind to me, and yeah, so lovely, and made me feel so much better about it all, even to the point where she even allowed me to choose the questions that I wanted to answer.
You're giving the game away now.
I will, it's true. Which was just such a blessing because I got to kind of like have a little kind of prepare myself, even though, like, we could say, well, you'll always know what you need to know in the moment. But because I was so in my head and so nervous, like that seemed like such a helpful thing. So, yeah, so I got to know Tanya that way. And then kind of listened to her actually, as she was one of the coaches that I listened to when I was part of the group. And then a little while after that, I did one of Tanya's courses, because at that time the big blind spot that I had was the symptoms that I was struggling with to do with perimenopause. And I have vivid memories. I remember I did it. I think it was. I remember it was the summer, and I remember lying in the garden listening to Tanya's recordings and just feeling so at peace. And it's a wonderful course, and you can find that course at wiserwoman.com. It's .com, isn't it, Tanya?
Yeah, thewiserwoman.com. Yeah.
Thewiserwoman.com. So hopefully Tanya's kind of going to talk a little bit about it. But yeah, if you hear anything, I cannot recommend that course enough. It has absolutely changed my relationship with everything that I thought about the perimenopause has gone in the bin. And I have
Okay.
a
Luckily.
yeah, I have a completely different understanding and therefore experience of it. So, Tanya, I wonder, would you start by kind of telling everybody a little bit about how kind of what you saw, or how it kind of came to be for you?
Yeah. Yeah. How I got to be doing
Yeah.
this work.
How you got to be.
So I was in my early 40s and I started experiencing a lot of different symptoms, which started off with me getting sick a lot, which was unusual. And since I'd been a mum for a number of years, like I hadn't had, sickness at all actually since I'd become a mum. And all of a sudden it was like my kids are bringing home all the viruses and I'm getting sick and what's going on? And I thought, this is weird, so I tried to deal with that through acupuncture and different things. And then as I seemed to get that under control, I started having a lot of migraines and I started having different skin conditions. And then I started to realize that my mood swings were all over the place. And I had no idea what was going on. I literally thought I was falling apart, couldn't understand it. Trying to, whack out one symptom and then another one would come up.
Like
And
whack-a-mole.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, the body says, oh, I'm going to speak to you that way if you're putting out that one. Um, and then on a webinar with Dr. Christian Northrup, who's an expert in women's health, she said a lot of women in their 40s may experience what could be described as PMS on steroids. And I was PMS on steroids. Well, that sounds exactly like my experience. And I started tracking my symptoms and realizing that there really was like two parts to the month. There was the beginning bit where I was quite okay, and then from ovulation to menstruation, it all hell broke loose. And that was the first time I'd heard about perimenopause. And I remember at the time I was like, oh, how is it that I don't know about perimenopause? I thought menopause happens, quickly when we're 51, and it just like click of the finger and there you go, your periods end. And many of us do, and that's unfortunate because often when we come into our 40s, then the symptoms that we experience, because menopause, which has now been divided up into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, actually takes time, just like our teenage years take time. And and so I started researching, well, how is it that I don't know anything about it, and what is it, and what creates the symptoms? And very quickly, when you do that research, you hear the hormone story. It's all your hormones. You need estrogen. It's sort of downhill. You're going to get all these symptoms. Your hormones are getting it wrong. You're kind of malfunctioning. Quick fix, HRT, etc. And it just didn't ring true to me. It didn't sound like that could be true. That a drop in your hormones or fluctuation between the estrogen and the progesterone could create so many symptoms. It just didn't all add up. And so I started exploring more and more. And then at the same time, I came across the three principles that I know you share as well, and I do too in my work. And very soon afterwards, I had an insight that through that, it was an insight around thought, that I didn't have to take my thoughts so seriously. And that was what was actually going on in my life and creating a lot of stress, thoughts about whether I was enough in particular. And just seeing and having that insight about the nature of thought allowed all my symptoms to clear up within days.
Wow.
And I thought at the time, well, this is kind of weird. How could that be? How, how could that must be a fluke? Surely next month they'll be back. And
Yeah.
then the months went on and they didn't come back. And so I thought, well, this is quite extraordinary and perhaps I should share it. And so I started sharing it and learning more and doing more and more research. And that was about 6 years ago that all started. So this has been my journey. And so today I'm very happy to say that I'm able to help women who are in this really important, misunderstood time in our lives. And at a time when so many women experience so many different symptoms. And I'm able to support them to relieve their symptoms and to bring them more into peace and joy and a realization that actually our body is not malfunctioning, it's wise, and it always wants our best. And so when we tune into that, then we can start feeling much better.
That's this. So the first takeaway that I took from your course was like we're meant to, our bodies are designed to go through this phase and cope with it and manage it, just like we go through adolescence, just like we have children, give birth and recover. It's just for some reason in society there is this sort of understanding that this phase in our lives is a problem, and it's a problem that we need to solve externally. And actually, we have everything that we need in order to navigate this phase, and we are designed to. And yeah, that was the big kind of seeing that when I went from being a child to an adolescent, I didn't have to have acupuncture. I didn't have to take any things that would slow down the immense increase in hormones that would be kind of rushing through my body. There wasn't anything that I needed. Like, my body was built to manage this. And the other thing was the 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 different way that women across the world experience this time. So kind of you know, like your kind of when you had the insight about thought creating our experience and all your symptoms went away and there was a my was, so how is it if menopause is this thing with all this myriad of symptoms, how is it that women in India or in the Far East, how is it that they don't have that experience?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then, you know, and then there's all the thing about, well, it's a difference in diet, but actually, women's diets in those different parts of the world is different also.
yeah, yeah. So it really, when we look at it, it really comes down to a mixture of how society um, views this change at midlife, whether it's sort of taken in a positive way or a negative way. And also, um, there is also sort of an understanding of the experience of thought and what we take seriously. And there are certain cultures where, women don't sit around in their critical thought, analyzing every single part of their life and what could be better and what they failed at. And, and there's much more of a flow to life and the nature of things. And so when we combine those two, giving midlife change a positive spin with, or just like it's part of nature, right? It's just the natural way of things. And the more of a flow in life, then that creates a different experience for women at midlife. Um, that's we can see that for sure. And I think, going back to what you said in your first point, we have to understand that throughout history, women's bodies have been assumed to be the not normal, right, by medicine. So the male body was the normal body, and the woman's body was this out of control, bleeding, malfunctioning, not normal
Yeah.
body. And her life cycles, when you look through a history of medical literature, they're just, the amount that they were given in terms of research or understanding was minuscule.
Mm.
But when it came up, it was, treated with the within the context of, oh, and she's not normal, and so these not normal things are going on. And this continued really into the 20th century, where the hormone revolution took place. This idea that a woman's body is not normal, and what she goes through, well, she's bound to malfunction, because this, what is this moment that she goes through at midlife that even takes her away from the role that we can understand as, her fixed role to bring children into the world. And then when she like moves beyond that, well, what worth is she? Like, why, doctors still pose this question, like, why do women go through menopause? What's the purpose of that? Why don't they keep reproducing? What is she doing? um, and so really, if you look at treatments for women from the last century, they started off by feeding women ovaries, because the conclusion was, well, if the woman's ovaries aren't working as they used to be working, creating menstruation, then surely she just needs new ovaries, right? Surely that's what's lacking, rather than understanding it as, oh, well, this is natural flow and she's moving to a different season in her life, for example. So it became, there was this ovary treatment where women were given ovaries to eat, or in pill form, or injected into them. And then when they were able to isolate estrogen, then they were able to put that into a pill form and sell that. And then it became estrogen therapy, and then that became hormone therapy. But the whole idea behind it is that women's bodies are lacking. You know, in this natural
Mm,
part of the life cycle, women's bodies are somehow getting it wrong.
mm,
And the thing is that women's bodies aren't getting it wrong. And like you mentioned, we have a wisdom in us that knows exactly what the plan is. And it's known since when we were in our mother's womb, even that, you know, we have most eggs actually before we're even born. And most of the eggs over our life, you know, sort of disintegrate in not coming through a period, but they just disintegrate, and our egg count gets reduced. And so, you know, that starts happening even before we're born. And so this has always been part of the plan. And so to suggest that this is a time in a woman's life when she needs to somehow go back and turn back the clock and
mm.
have the hormones of a younger woman is a huge mistake. And it just sits at the very foundation of the myths that exist around women in midlife change.
You know, the thing that, as you're talking, the thing that kind of just came to my mind is this idea that we're not built for change, and yet the kind of the thing that is here is the idea of trees in the seasons, you know, and um, we don't we don't interfere with the life cycle of growing and living things in nature. We don't we don't look at a tree and think, oh my god, it needs to have green leaves all year round, and get in there and mess with it. Or like, we know that that tree has everything it needs to go through all those different changes, and there's nothing we need to do. Our bodies are like that too, and we as women are like that too. We are designed to lose our leaves, get buds, be in full bloom. You know, we're designed to be able to navigate that, and we have everything we need to be able to do that. It's just for some reason, and it seems to me where the suffering comes from, there is this notion that we don't have the ability to do that, that and it indicates that there's something wrong. And it's like this kind of these principles and anxiety. So pre these principles, in terms of anxiety, for me, I thought I was broken, and I thought it was my job to fix. Actually, in the fixing and the searching, I just made everything worse. Like, it's exactly the same for perimenopause and menopause. To me, it looks like that. In the thinking that there was something wrong with me and it was my job to go out into the world and find a solution, I just made everything worse. And when I saw that what was happening was perfectly normal and natural, and I had everything I need, everything just kind of went, whew.
Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, our approach generally, and this again it has evolved from Western medicine in that, you know, any symptom is a sign of malfunction, when essentially any symptom is a display of the body's intelligence. And it comes about to try and move us back into balance. That's when symptoms arise. So we can go through midlife change with really minimal symptoms or no symptoms, you know, but really minimal, let's say, for most women that could happen. Minimal symptoms that wouldn't bother us too much. And when the problem is that when symptoms arise, we think, well, there's something wrong that needs to be fixed, and this is my body, you know, failing to go through midlife change, when it's not. It's your body communicating with you and trying to help you make a shift or wake up so that you can get back into balance. Because when we're in balance, that uh, being in that place of balance best serves us. It best serves us in the moment just because it's more pleasant to be there, but it will best serve us in the long run We
Mm.
don't want discomfort to create disease.
Yeah.
But, disease is created when we don't listen to the discomfort. And when we think, "Well, I just need to fix the discomfort or
Yeah.
turn down the volume," when actually all the symptoms are here to tell us
Yeah.
something incredibly useful. We just often don't want to hear them,
Yeah.
or we've got no time to hear them, or we think the solution is going to be too complicated. And it's so often much simpler than we think.
Is that the reason why if you Google perimenopause, the list is literally everything conceivably possible. You know, it's because we all have our thing that we hear from our bodies, don't we? For me, I have friends that I know it's kind of like heart palpitations. That happens, she listens. Like for me, it's the migraines, stomach upsets, at those points that's what makes me listen. But where I was going wrong was not seeing that it was a call for me to get into balance. I saw it as oh my God, there really is something wrong. I need to go fix this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's important to point out that it happens at this time. People say, well, it must be my hormones, though, because it's happening at this time when my hormones are changing. But there's a reason why it happens at this time. And just like when we're teenagers and we're supposed to find ourselves in the things that we love, right? That's a sensitive time. When women are pregnant and postpartum, that's a sensitive time because if you have a woman, going completely off balance, she's not going to be able to take care of herself and she's not going to be able to take care of her baby, when the baby's inside and when the baby comes outside. So, very quickly, when a woman is in that state of pregnancy or postpartum, if she's off balance, the body starts talking to her very, very quickly. But again, in those times, it can be put down to your hormones. Oh, you're just hormonal, etc. Like postpartum, if a woman doesn't get the support she needs in that very tender time, oh, and she's crying, oh, she's just hormonal. No, like this is her body's response to
Yeah.
try and get her, shift, shift in a way that's going to help her sit more in balance or seek out the help she needs or something like that. And the same thing happens at midlife. We're in this sensitive time. And it just seems to me to be part of the intelligent design that you are graduating to, however you'd like to look at it, the wiser woman, management level, the elder, etc., etc. But you're of no use to society if you keep on, living the life that you lived in your 20s and 30s and don't reach a point where you dig inside for wisdom and discover something new. Like you're supposed to be an elder with wisdom, not an elder who's never changed, not an elder who's not discovered anything about life, universe, and everything, if you like. But you know, but we see it as, wow, this malfunction, these symptoms, these, painful. And I know what it's like to be in the soup of the symptoms. We just want to find the thing outside of us that's going to fix us, and then we need it yesterday.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when we just find, a thing that can settle symptoms down, what we're doing is then we're saying, oh, then I don't need to change at all. I don't need to learn anything. I don't need to do any work or anything because I just, I'll just continue and I won't change, in any way or learn anything new that's going to help me onto a path of good health. And when I'm on that path of good health, not only is that going to be beneficial for me, but it's going to be beneficial for my family, for my society, etc. And so it does seem that that is part of the design that pushes us into a new level of wisdom. And I would say that society's probably found that
Mm.
possibility
Mm.
threatening. And so that's another reason why, all these women coming to this position of wisdom at midlife and having
You're
time on their
right.
hands because their kids are growing up. So, then, that could be threatening. And so that's another reason I imagine why, the whole idea of midlife change has been put down and marginalized and medicated away. So we just don't feel the change.
That's so interesting. So that's just fantastic. And so so freeing and empowering as a woman to hear, um,
Yeah.
and the perfect place for us to end.
Great.
So, thank you, Tanya, so much. I will pop in the comments the link to your website. So if you've heard anything or anything that Tanya said has kind of made you feel something, then please do go have a look, because I cannot recommend what she does enough. Yeah, so thank you for today, and thank you for changing my relationship with perimenopause.
You did it, but I just, shone a little light in a direction.
Wow, that's a great light to shine. So, yeah, thanks, Tanya. Thank you so, so much. And thank you for today.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Okay.
Yeah, see you soon.
Okay.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.